studying the singing style of Devin Townsend. This guy can do it all. He's got a ridiculous range. He is able to go in and out of beautiful soaring cleans and screams, and he can sound like an opera singer. He can sound like just about anything he wants. And he makes it look so easy. And by making it look easy, it can sometimes make it seem more impossible to the people that are listening or watching if they want to learn from his singing. But by looking at the right clues through the right lens, we can get into his style and still, though we'll never sound like Devin, we'll still be able to take some of the things that he does and put them into our own voices. I want to remind us that we're not going for imitation here. We're going for learning based on inspiration. And if we can look and listen in certain ways, we're going to be able to learn a ton, and it'll inform and influence our own voices. Now, for this particular study, I'm going to look at just one song, and the song I'm going to look at is Kingdom, and I'm taking this approach with this artist because lots of people have reacted to this video. And this is not going to be your typical reaction video. If you want to hear me or see me nod my head and talk the whole time, go watch one of the other 20 videos or more of other vocal coaches doing this. I'm going to experiment with my own voice. I'm going to stop the video and pause the video a lot so that I can give myself time to experiment, and I can help you learn, if you want to, how to experiment in the style of Devin Townsend. But I wanted to do a singular song as opposed to a bunch of different individual examples because I feel like it shows his versatility to be able to throw all these things into one song. I mean, it's one thing to have a song where you're singing like this and another song where you're adopting a different style, but to do all of these sort of sounds and voices in one song and have it sound so good and coherent, and at the same time be so variety oriented, is part of the charm and mystery of Devin also. So I wanted to contextualize that and study that context as well. And if you're trying to learn from Devin Townsend, but you don't have a solid foundation for support, breath control, vowel formation, you don't understand what it means to use compression and vocal fry, these are things that I start getting into in my free vocal course linked below. Be sure you've joined that and you'll have a solid foundation for getting into some of this stuff. Being able to learn from guys like Devin takes a solid understanding of the fundamentals of singing. And if you don't have that, you'll mess up your voice and get frustrated. All right, let's get started. So take note of his confidence, his performance, and the faces that he makes even when he's not singing. Whoa! So even that. Whoa! But lifting heavy. Whoa! Not using as much air as you'd think. Less air, actually. That's the theme. Not as much effort, not as much air as you might think because of his control of compression. I wonder. Now, he's using this very open throat. Look at his face. So his face leads you to believe that he's doing a lot more than he actually is. He's very relaxed. And this is a good thing to remember with any performer. The aggression that they are promoting and exuding oftentimes is more about showmanship than it is the need to be intense. Not tension, intensity. But open throat, solid chest, good vibrato. I Get a solid chest note. If you've seen my video on belting, he's absolutely belting here. That invisible ball in the front of our face, that resonance in our face. We feel that with the open throat. We do not close off our nasal passage, and we get that really upfront, confident, clean sound. Okay, right there, he goes from that, he goes from that nice, open, cleaner sound, and he goes up. He's approaching that vocal break aspect I've talked about in other videos, but listen to the pitch he goes to. He goes into it's a fry scream. Those are the notes, and he's making faces just like I'm making faces. The idea here, though, is that we're combining the note of the otherwise clean note, oh, which you just heard him do a bunch clean, and we're adding that hyper compression over the top. We're closing with our false chords over the top. Yeah! And then pushing up into head voice range, using one of the two forms of mix that I've covered in other videos. Now, when we talk about adding fry or adding compression, there are other guys out there that insist that this is merely that, where you're using head voice and then you're combining fry. That doesn't sound like what he's doing. That's weak. We're not just using head voice. We're using a well-supported mixed voice. And we're adding compression. And the compression is happening in the same area that fundamental fry would happen. So I just wanted to clear that up. There's a missing link if you just say he's using vocal fry over a tone. It's not that simple. Well, it is, but there's that added component of dialing in your support so that you have that aggressive sound underneath it. That idea there, where as he gets more and more gritty, he approaches what I've talked about before in other videos with approaching his vocal break, and then dialing the push up and resting in that sweet spot right in between. As you do this more and more, you're able to hold a pitch and then dip into that mentality, dip into that feel. Stay with me. Okay, I know I missed it. Oh, so okay, I know I missed it. He goes from this awesome, clean, wonderful sound, and then he puts that compression in with, and that's the false chord area compression over the top. It's not combined. You have to think about it as over the top. Hey! Hey! What we're doing is we're actually closing our false chord area. We're not going hard on our vocal cords. If we did that, we'd lose our voice. We're using the area above our larynx to hold back and control airflow. And so the airflow actually becomes less as we get more aggressive. Oh, poor tiny, I missed it. I missed it. So cool. Oh, nice, clean, airy. He does such a wonderful job of going in and out of pitched screams and that nice, open, non-note scream. And when I am singing like this, I tend to approach it as I'm always thinking of a note. So if yeah! That is a slightly aggressive note. I'm going to add more compression and more distortion to it. And then I'm going to push up just a little bit so it goes out of range of that note, and my voice starts to break up more, and I lose the tone. What's actually happening there is my primary vocal cords are opening. They're opening, so I don't phonate anymore with my primary vocal cords, and all of the airflow, all of the resistance comes from my false cords. That's where the pitch disappears. That was a really good example of that, where he ended up on the fine, that note, but even below it, he had set himself a note that was lower, and then he set himself a note that was lower that he pushed up to and let his voice break, opened his primary chords, and then he closed them again for that higher note while maintaining that compression. It takes a lot of control, a lot of practice to do this. And then he cleans it right back up. Pure head voice there. With me. He even has that sneer while he's singing in his head voice. Yo! He gets that nice growly sound by opening up his mouth, as opposed to yo, which he does really well in other parts. As you're getting those notes, as you're practicing dialing that in, let your voice crack and feel where that sweet spot is. That's going to help you dial in your grit. But get the note clean. Yeah, I'm fine. And then add the grit over the top. I'm fine. You still hear that pitch. The pitch is underneath the grit, underneath that false chord engagement. That false chord engagement should feel like it's happening above your larynx, not below. If you start feeling heat here, it's not good. You should feel it high. But I also want to point out the mouth shape and the way he's placing his tone when he goes for those aggressive sounds and he has his mouth open. Oh, I'm open! He's doing a combination of being super open and dropping his larynx and dropping his mouth. You can see him do it, but also being engaged with breaking closer to his chest resonance, as opposed to it being a falsetto-based engagement with his primary chords. This is huge to be able to hear and differentiate the feel of that. Again, I'll demonstrate that. Low! That's low, like that. Hyper compression, low. Open, drop the larynx. And then bring the pitch up as we're doing this, as we're doing that. And then let yourself break at the same time, going into head voice. And you can get super high while still maintaining that aggression. It's the same as doing this with false chord engagement over the top of it. Clean, stay with me. Play with me. Such a beautiful voice. Oh, play with me. Oh, love it. Stay with me. It's like clean. Stay with me. Oh, yeah. Good stuff. If you get nothing else, see if you can do what he did at the very end there. Metal, 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 metal. The idea of holding back the air above your larynx. He's very, very good at being able to exercise compression-based grit, which has its root in vocal fry, across his entire range and in all of his resonances. That's what makes him tick. And that's why he's able to get all these sounds, and the louder he gets, I don't want to use the word loud, the more aggressive he gets, the more aggressive he sounds. I would bet if you put a dB meter there, there's hardly any change in the actual decibel level of his voice. I've done another video on loudness, vocal loudness. Be sure to check that out, where I do some of this same stuff with a dB meter. And you can see how the differences in levels aren't quite what you think because of this idea of holding back air. So be sure to check out that video. Also, if you want to take your voice further and develop the tools necessary to get to this level of singing, be sure to click the link below and join my free vocal course. We'll see you for more.